Whenever I hear the story about the presentation of Jesus in the temple, the story of Simeon and Anna, my first thought is not theological or even missional. I hear the name Simeon, and the first thing that I think of is a restaurant in Sydney, Cape Breton, called Simeon's, where we used to take the girls, my girls' great-grandparents, when we stayed with them over our summer vacations. You know, great baked halibut and hot beef sandwiches that are dripping with gravy. That's my first thought. And then my thoughts move on to the Simeon of the gospel in Luke chapter 2. This Simeon is actually a picture of faithfulness to God. He is presented to us as an example of a devout and a righteous man who lives only to see the day when the words of consolation from the prophet Isaiah in chapter 40 are embodied before his own eyes. Now, if we were in a full service this morning, I might have chosen one of the Song of Simeon versions that are found in our hymn book in Voices United. And both of those musical pieces, they have Simeon's words as declaring that with his own eyes, he has seen the salvation of the Lord prepared in the sight of all people, a light that has been revealed to the nations, and because of that fact, he has now been freed to die a happy servant of God. Simeon gives us a picture of fulfilled expectations, a picture of hope that has been realized. And for those of us in the church who are just beginning our yearly study of Jesus' life and ministry, we are given Jesus as the link between the Old Testament prophecies and the new Christian communities of the New Testament. And right here in Luke 2, we have Simeon naming Jesus, actually holding him up and presenting Jesus as the link between these two. And then following that, Luke also tells us this lovely companion story of the prophetess Anna. And with Anna, we are told that she is a daughter of Phanuel, a member of the tribe of Asher. Now, Asher was one of the lost 10 tribes after the fall of the northern kingdom. And we are told that she is also a devout Jew who regularly practiced prayer and fasting. We are told that Anna was widowed after only 7 years of marriage. Her husband is not named, just that she was married for 7 years, and that she was now 84 years old, and for that period of time, very old. And this information is important because it establishes for us the criteria for Anna belonging to what was known as the Order of the Widows. We know that even now, being widowed can leave women in a financially precarious situation, so you can imagine how precarious that was in ancient times. And because in ancient times, these widow women were so vulnerable to abuse economically and sexually and socially, no longer in the care of a husband, they were considered to then be given over to the care of God. And so, if you were then considered to be in the care of God, then it was thought that your prayers and your sacrifices were more likely to be heard by God than just the prayers of regular folk. Therefore, the order of widows functioned as a special ministry within the temple. They performed these special cares and duties on behalf of the congregation. And so that is why we find Anna there on this morning as Jesus is presented. Now, the story of Anna reminds us of those earlier Jewish expectations of the Messiah, and again provides that link between the two testaments. Anna, being a descendant of the tribe of Asher, one of the lost tribes, allows us as the reader to know that, one, there were still descendants that were still in existence, but that there was all these different connections to the messianic prophecies or the messianic promise. And Anna's presence in the temple also works to establish the inclusiveness of Jesus' ministry to not just one tribe and one place, but to all tribes and all nations of every place. So Anna was a wise prophetess. A prophet, of course, prophetess doesn't mean that they have the ability to psychically tell the future, as sometimes we use that term with prophecies, but rather that she had the wisdom to understand the signs of the times and predict where a certain path of action would lead. And Anna, we are told, was wise because she was able to recognize the significance of baby Jesus being presented. Anna had waited many years, understanding that God's timing is not the same as our timing. God is not on our agenda. She understood the importance of faithful waiting and of continuing to function in the care of others during those times of waiting. She understood the wisdom of hope, that one could not faithfully wait and serve if one did not have the hope that in due time all would be revealed and made right. You know that there are many faithful Christians. If we think back of our mentors or maybe special people that have been there for us during our faith journeys, maybe grandparents or old Sunday school teachers or a professor that we had in university or the next door neighbor, many faithful Christians who did not see the end result of their work and their prayers. But they persevered. And they passed that faith on to us as we pass that faith on to the next generation, persevering in the holy hope of someday. We, too, are called to that faithfulness. It is our job to continue the ministry and the mission of the gospel, even knowing that we are probably never going to see the full fruits of our labor. We learn from the story of Anna the wisdom of endurance and active waiting. Anna didn't just sit there and simply wait for Jesus to appear. She lived her life full of fasting and prayer and service. She kept doing what was needed to be done until the Messiah appeared. And even then, she continued by proclaiming to everyone who would listen in that temple that day, and I am sure to the end of her days, the good news of Jesus' birth. Anna and Simeon are good examples to hold before us as a church as we begin this yet another journey into a new year, as we journey into 2021. And I believe with my whole heart that this will be a year of grace for St. John Stevensville United Church and our ministries. So let's embrace it with faithfulness. Thanks be to God. Amen.